unwillingness to accept rather than maximum acceptance.
Hey,
Hey, Ed,
Kevin.
how's it going?
Hey, good, man. How you doing?
Good. Just finishing up the last bit of the lecture 8.
Cool.
Hello?
Hey, sorry, just switched Wi-Fi networks real quick. You can hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. I was just watching the end of lecture 8 just now.
Yeah. Cool. Me too.
Yeah, this lecture is so much nicer. It's like real
Oh my gosh.
examples and like not any like no math.
It was so awesome.
It felt like,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah, he pulled us down this torturous road, and now that he's got us kind of the way down, now he's like letting up a little bit. So,
Yeah. Like part of me is inclined to think that this is how most auctions actually are, is like you just have to like try it out and see how people actually behave. Like
yeah,
even if something's theoretically better, it might not actually perform better
true.
since people are not always rational.
Yeah, or maybe the theory doesn't always line up.
Yeah. How's everything going?
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Cool, that's good to hear. What are you spending most of your time doing in Tokyo?
Kind of just doing like some personal research, and then otherwise, just like meeting some friends and stuff, or like meeting some people from the crypto scene too.
Awesome. Is your personal research like crypto related?
Yeah, yeah.
What kind of stuff are you like researching or exploring? Or just
I guess peer-to-peer networks, pretty much.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. How about you? What's going on?
Yeah, so I mean I work full time on cryptoeconomics.studies, so
Cool.
right now I'm working on chapter 3 of the lectures, which covers sort of decentralized consensus, talks about proof of work in Bitcoin, and then talks about a little bit of game theory, which I'm taking stuff from this course from.
Awesome.
And then we're covering selfish mining as well in that chapter.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm making all the slides for that right now.
Nice. I'll look forward to going through it myself.
Yeah, I'd love to get your feedback for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Sure, it'll be awesome.
I hope so. Yeah, it's taken a while, but
That's okay.
yeah, feeling motivated to get it done.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah. So should we go through? Yeah, exercise 34. Here, I can share my screen.
Okay, cool.
All right. Yes, I don't know if we wanted to do lecture 7 stuff or just do lecture. Maybe we should just try to do lecture 8, and then if we have time, maybe we could try to do the ones on the lecture 7 exercises that we didn't finish.
Okay. Yeah, we can look over them again, but I know that we're going to meet on Monday again too, so it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, I have not taken a look at this one yet.
Okay.
So recall that the reverse auction setting from lecture. B denotes the set of bidders. There's a set. Is that F? It's a subset of 2 to the B, a feasible set that is upward closed. Uh-oh. What does that mean? Supersets
Oh, yeah.
feasible. Okay. Okay. So that means if we take different sets together to create a larger set, that's also feasible.
Okay.
So superset. Okay, yeah, supersets of feasible sets are again feasible. Okay, so we initialize S. What is S? Oh, I see. Okay, so S is just like a set that we set equal to B. Okay.
Yeah. Containing elements. Oh, yeah, equal to B. Okay.
Getting all the bidders. And then while there is a bidder in S such that if we remove it, it's feasible, then we remove that bidder. Okay, so we keep removing bidders until we have the smallest set that is feasible. Yeah, until we have the smallest set that's feasible. Okay.
What's feasible here? Is it like, let's see.
I'm trying to remember what feasible meant.
Oh, I think it's just all sets that are like possible.
Okay.
Are feasible sets. Or wait. Mathematical optimization. A feasible set is the set of all possible points of an optimization problem that satisfy the problem's constraints.
Okay. What are the constraints on the bidders?
This is the initial set of candidate solutions to the problem before the set of candidates has been narrowed down.
Okay. Okay, maybe the next section will help.
Okay, cool.
So we implement the step star using a scoring rule. So we assign a number to each bidder. Okay. At each iteration, the bidder with the largest score, whose deletion does not destroy feasibility of S, gets deleted. Okay. The score assigned to a bidder can depend on I. What is I? Oh, okay. It depends on the bidder, the bidder's bid, the bid of other bidders that have already been deleted, the feasible set F, and the history of what happened in previous iterations. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so it doesn't depend on the value of bids that have not been deleted. Assuming the scoring rule is increasing, holding everything fixed except for BI, I score is increasing in its bid BI. so confused. um,
This is essentially he's talking about the ascending auction here, I think. Pretty sure he's just defining a ascending auction, like, because like your behavior in an ascending auction during each round depends on like what your bid history is, what other people's bid histories are, stuff like that.
right.
And he wants to show here that the ascending auction rounds, that they proceed in a monotone fashion.
Mhm.
And it's just tricky to describe what's going on in an ascending auction, I guess. But I'm pretty sure that that's what this is.
Okay. I actually didn't finish the last 10 minutes of lecture, and I think this is where it was talked about, where this stuff was talked about.
Okay, it might have been. I remember him saying something about it in like the second half hour. I want to say.
Yeah, this is like the last part.
Well, do you recall the ascending auction?
No, I didn't get there. I think
Okay.
that's right where I stopped.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So what is winning in this? Is winning being a part of the set at the end?
Good question. Yeah, I know that
Oh,
in an
winning means
ascending
being bought
auction,
at.
participants, like, yeah, you can kind of get like ejected from the auction if you don't keep bidding and if you don't keep incrementing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it. So it's almost like everyone's bidding to be bought out. Everyone's bidding to like sell something basically. And whoever has the highest bid gets like bought out in each round. You keep removing, buying out the person with the highest bid. It iteratively removes bidders from the current feasible set until a minimum feasible set is reached. A greedy scoring rule is used to choose which bidder to remove in each iteration. One might call this reverse greedy algorithm. Deletes bidders starting from the entire set rather than forward. Okay. Bidding lower can only cause you to win.
Oh, what the heck? It's weird that at each iteration, the bidder with the largest score gets deleted, right?
Mm-hmm. Is this saying that your score is higher if your bid is lower or something?
Yeah. Because it says in the last section, assume that the scoring rule is increasing, holding everything fixed except BI. I score is increasing in its bid BI. So
Wait, where's that? Score is increasing in its bid.
So it must be that the more you bid, the greater your score is.
More you bid, the greater your score is?
Yeah, I think so. Isn't that I score
Yeah.
is increasing in its bid BI?
Right. And so winning, so that means winning is being in the final set S.
Hmm.
Like a bidder has won if they're still in the set S, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And they're still in the set S
They weren't.
if after a few rounds, after a few iterations, they never had the highest score.
Mm-hmm.
Score is not allowed to depend on the value of the bids of other bidders.
Okay. So I feel like you could do like a proof by contradiction probably. You could probably just say, to assume that that I doesn't win with a lower bid.
Mm-hmm.
That means at some round, that bid gave us a score that was the highest. Like they got kicked out of the set.
Okay.
But if that were the case, if they bid more than that, they would have gotten kicked out of the set in that same round.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning they wouldn't have won with bid BI. But they did win with bid BI.
Mm-hmm.
Does that, I feel like that, does that work?
Well, I'm confused because it says show that the allocation rule is monotone,
Mm-hmm.
and then it gives the description of what a monotone allocation rule looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that this weird B prime thing, which is like, say my bid's at 30 and I won.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I could have also bid 25 and won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think it's saying, because this is a reverse auction, the definition of monotone is reverse. So it's,
Oh, okay.
you can bid less and you will only get more. If you bid less, you will only get more. Because it's a reverse auction.
Oh, reverse auction. I've been thinking ascending auction. I've been thinking the wrong way.
So I guess it's like we want to award. Yeah, we want to. The people who win are the people who bid the lowest.
Yeah, it's like the procurement auctions or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, because the actual use case was like what? It was like, what, it was like TV broadcasting that like no one's using anymore, and they're trying to like get bought out.
Oh, okay.
So it's like I'll go, like, you can buy me out for $30, and someone else would be like, no, you can buy me out for $25. So the lower I go, the more likely it is that I will get bought out.
Yeah. Another example was like if you have to put a kitchen in, then you have a bunch of contractors bidding on the job who can do it for the lowest or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I actually did like a hackathon project like 5 years ago where it was called like rebid, like reverse bidding.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. And so that was like people would just say how low they would go to do a certain job or certain errand.
Nice.
So yeah, I feel like the proof for this could just be, let's assume for the sake of contradiction that B prime I, that with that bid, bidder I doesn't win.
Bidder I doesn't win. Okay, right.
So that let's say he doesn't win with bid B prime of I. So that's saying, let's say BI is 30. Let's say he doesn't win with bid 29.
Okay.
That means that at some round, 29 was the the bid of 29 yielded the highest score, right? Because he got kicked out at some round. He got kicked out. That means that at that round, the greedy algorithm said he had the highest score. So that means 29 gave the highest score in that round. But because the scoring rule like increases with increased bids, his score would have been even higher during that round with a bid of 30, meaning he wouldn't have won with a bid of 30.
Yeah.
But that contradicts the fact that he did win with a bid of 30. So that means he must also win with a bid of BR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. And then I think we could also just say, look, assume that he won the auction with a bid of 30.
Mm-hmm.
Then his score, then, yeah, I don't know. Actually, maybe it's not so simple the other way. If we just assume that he won, and then can we just say, oh, look, and if he had bid even lower, then his score would have been
lower for every single round. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think you could say that. Yeah. It's just that means every round he was not the lowest. He was not the highest score. And so we know that if he lowered his bid, every round he would have an even lower score or equal score or something, right?
Yeah.
So then he wouldn't have lost any of those rounds either.
Yeah, the set deletion would have proceeded the same.
Yeah.
At least, so I'd like to think at least.
Yeah. It seems like this seems too simple to me.
Yeah, true.
To be the only, but maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe this is like a break lecture.
Yeah, it does kind of seem that way.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that that's right. Maybe we can check. Let me check something real quick. He does have this book on game theory lectures.
Okay, cool.
This might be an exercise that we can check. Let's see. Chapter 8. Okay, 8.3.
Oh, yeah, that looks like it.
I get to this bookmark. .3. Uh-oh. Oh wait, that's not it. Oh no, it's exercise 8.3. Okay, there's no hint for that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's usually if there's not a hint, that means it's like not too hard.
Okay.
So I think that works. I don't know. I'll rewatch that last part of the lecture afterwards and see if there's like any tricks, but
Okay.
it seems right. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Basically the same monotone proof that we've been doing, just reversed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he said something in the lecture towards the beginning about he described some problem. And then he said, and I asked you to show that. And he said, like, and it's a hard problem.
Oh.
But maybe he wasn't talking about 34. Maybe he was talking about, like, 33.
Yeah, I think he might have been talking about the problem set.
Oh, okay. You're probably right, yeah.
Yeah. That problem set was really, really hard.
Oh, the last one?
Just like the whole thing, I tried to go through some of problem set number 1, and I was just like, I'm just not going to have the group do this because it took me so long.
Oh, man.
So maybe we should try, I don't know, do you want to maybe try to come up with some examples for the ones that we skipped?
Sure, let's take a look.
Let's see, which ones did we not do? We did this one. Yeah, we didn't do 32 and 33. Let's see. Two bidders in a combinatorial auction are given no goods by the VCG mechanism if they bid truthfully, yet both can achieve positive utility if they both submit false bids. All right, let me pull up the VCG lecture slides. I think I already forgot the formula.
Me too.
I wish there was a guide on like which parts of this course and like mechanism design are most applicable in designing sort of like smart contracts. And
Yeah, that would be cool. That's probably up to us to write.
yeah, true. Okay, let's see. Where was the formula for the VCG? Here we go. Right, okay, the rebate. So everyone pays their bid minus the like welfare increase they created.
Mm-hmm.
So we take the sum of everyone's bids. And then we, of all the different outcomes, we maximize the sum of bids without that new thing, that new person. Okay. Let's see. Two bidders in a combinatorial auction. So they're given no goods if they bid truthfully.
Mm.
Wait, what is the allocation rule? Oh, it's here. Okay.
Is it true that these two bidders are part of some larger auction in which there's more bidders?
Yeah, I think so. I think it needs to be that way.
Yeah.
So that the bids will be maximized. The sum of the bids will be maximized if we give it to some third bidder instead of both of them.
Yeah, maybe the third bidder. Maybe it's like the situation from the problem before where like the third bidder values both items if he gets both of them at 0.6 or at 6, let's say.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't get both of them, then he's 0.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say the other guys each value one of the goods at 4.
Mm-hmm.
No, never mind. That doesn't work.
Maybe at 2. Okay.
Let's see.
Because in that case, so yeah, in that case, if they bid truthfully, they'll get nothing. That's true. How much would they pay? So
Good question.
if V3 is, so if the third bidder values A and B at 6, and then bidder 1 values A at 2, and bidder 2 values B at 2,
Then I think the bidder that likes both items will just win.
Yeah,
right?
no matter what.
Because the sum of his value for that outcome is greater than the sums of the other bidders' value for their respective outcomes.
Yeah. So let's say they fake their bid and they bid 4 or something. If they each bid 4, then they'll win.
Yeah.
So let's say bidder 1 bids 4. So they would pay 4 minus, what would the sum of all that be? It would be 8.
Oh, I just realized something.
Yeah.
You could ask the other person to bid even when that person doesn't value the outcome that you're looking for. So in our example that we're constructing, you know, you can bid okay, hold on a sec. So if I really want an item, and then you're my friend, and you know that I really want an item, and you also really want an item, then we can each bid on each other's items to raise the value of that outcome, so that somebody else doesn't, and we make sure that we don't have any value assigned for like some other person winning that item. So, dang, I wish I could like draw something out.
Yeah. Well, so are you saying that you would decrease the like increase in surplus? Like you're saying, like if I wanted something for $6 or something,
Yeah.
as a friend, you would bid on it so that I would be increasing the surplus by less?
Well, I would bid like, let's say 5.
Okay.
And so then the sum of the bids on that outcome, where the outcome being that you win the item. Remember how we switched things up to start talking about outcomes?
Yeah.
So in the outcome that you win the good, like I still get 5 utility from you winning the good. And so that's reflected in my bid there for that outcome. In the vector looks like, 0, 5, 6.
Oh.
And so even if I don't actually value you getting the good, I can pretend for that outcome that I do value it. And then that outcome is much more likely to be assigned, to be allocated. And then
Right.
as far as the payment goes, I don't know. But
but then you would have to pay for that, right?
I don't know if I would have to.
Because if you're bidding on something, well, you're bidding on an outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens. Yeah, then you have to pay.
Well, I know that you have to pay. And then, yeah, I think I have to pay too, and according to this payment rule. Agent I's payment as its bid minus a rebate. So you're right, I would have to pay. So I guess the question is, where's the sweet spot where, we can both bid on each other's outcomes, supporting each other's outcomes, but not pay more than our actual value. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I feel like the case that we just said works. Actually, let me write this out. I think maybe I can just throw it into a text edit or something. So if we have V3 AB is equal to, let me just multiply these by 2. So let's say it's like 11 or something.
Yeah.
And then V1 of A is equal to 5. V2 of B is equal to 5. So if we bid honestly, bidder 1 and bidder 2 are not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Bidder 3 is going to win. But let's say false bid of 1 of A is equal to 6. And then false 2 of B is equal to 6. Mm-hmm. So then A and B will win. Mm-hmm. And how much will they pay? Let's see if they'll pay less than their valuation. So they'll pay pay 6 minus the total welfare, which is 12, right? Minus the maximum if bidder 1 is not there, the maximum welfare would be the outcome where bidder 3 wins, which is 11. So they pay 5. Oh shit. Yeah, that doesn't work. Okay, so maybe not.
Does that not work?
Well, they'll pay 5 and their valuation is 5. They'll just get nothing. If this is, I don't know, that makes it worse. Wait, what was I trying to do? 3, 4.
And is the first term of the rebate equal to 12? I mean, like, you have the bid minus the rebate, right? And so the first part of the rebate is the 12, which is the total welfare. So do we just ignore bidder number 3 in that?
Yeah, because in that case, bidder 3 wins nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's.
But I think it's like, I think W is, oh. I think you're right. Yep. Okay. Right. W here is whatever outcome we're taking a look at. And so, yeah, it makes sense. That's 12.
Let me try something here. 6, 5, 6. Okay, here we go. I think this works. Yeah. Doesn't this work?
That's crazy. Because you raised our bid, but we're paying less.
Yeah. Because this is not maximizing revenue, this is just maximizing welfare. So if they think we're being honest, and we say, hey, I value this outcome at 8, I guess I have to pay less? I don't know. I don't really know.
Oh.
How does the payments work?
Well, I think each person is paying 3 here, right?
Yeah, they're both paying 3. I wonder how much, if we picked bidder 3, how much would they have to pay? They would have to pay 11 minus, I guess it depends on what everyone else's bid was. Let's say everyone bid honestly. It would be 11 minus 10. So it would pay 10. Interesting. So you're also decreasing revenue too.
Yeah, like if you bid 10 here, then 10 minus 20 minus.
Yeah, they could probably get even less, huh?
Yeah, then you'd be paying 1.
Wait a second. If we make this 20, you get a negative number.
Is the problem that
Wait.
Is the problem that the second term of the rebate isn't factoring in?
Oh, wait a second. Oh, wait. No, yeah, that's. Oh, wait. No, yeah, it can't be negative. Because even in this case, it would actually be 40 minus 20. It should be 0.
Minus 20 plus 11, or
Just 20.
okay.
Because you can only have either if you don't have bidder 1, for example, either bidder 2 wins or bidder 3 wins. Yeah.
I gotcha.
So I guess it actually can't be negative. So I guess that's okay.
Okay.
Because yeah, if we're picking the outcome without bidder 1 that makes the most money, if false bid 2 was, if false bid 2 was 20, that would be the better option.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So we get 10 minus 20 minus 11, which equals 1. Wow. So why do we go over VCG? This seems really like, it seems like all these exercises prove why VCG is terrible. Like, what is the benefit of VCG? People have an incentive to submit false bids. You know, adding an extra bidder can decrease revenue. It doesn't maximize revenue. You can make $0, I guess. And it doesn't even necessarily maximize welfare, right? Like in this case, it's not maximizing welfare because people are lying.
The theorem says that there is a DSIC welfare maximizing mechanism. So
Yeah.
So what's that mean here?
Doesn't DSIC mean like your dominant strategy is to tell the truth?
Right. So maybe the problem with our auction that we're inventing here is that it's not the DSIC welfare maximizing mechanism, but there is one that exists. Is that possibly where we're going with this, or no?
Maybe.
Let me reread the exercise.
Because it does say this is possible. 2 bidders in a combinatorial auction.
Mm-hmm. Are given no goods by the VCG mechanism.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't really make sense to me. Isn't false bids isn't it antithetical to DSIC?
I think so. Let me just double check.
Because you're right. It says
DSIC means everyone's guaranteed non-negative utility if you tell the truth. Yeah. It says your dominant strategy is to tell the truth.
Yeah.
No matter what everyone else does.
Hmm.
Not really sure.
Oh. Is this the whole thing where like is VCG not possible here? Even though the VCG mechanism is operating or whatever, like the bidders, it's only VCG and DSIC if all the bidders write down all of their different combinations of of how they value each outcome and stuff.
Right.
So is that the problem here, that like we're like constraining the bidders to just one value, like, oh yeah, like we value this 6 or something. or never mind. I'm not really making sense.
Like they'll need to do the 2 to the
2 to the m minus 1 or whatever, or 2 to the n.
right.
Because I'm just looking back at the lecture, and he says like, oh yeah, that's the first major challenge of combinatorial auctions, that it's impossible to get bidders' preferences, complete preferences.
Right. But I guess in this hypothetical auction, don't we have all of their preferences?
Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah.
I mean, does VCG not, does the payment rule, does it not work in this case? In principle, the VCG mechanism provides a DSI solution for maximizing the welfare. Maybe we don't have the definition of DSIC right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's... Doesn't show up. Let's double check. DSIC. The DSIC property guarantees that truthful reporting is a dominant strategy and never leads to negative utility. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was going to say, like, yeah, maybe this strategy requires, like, it requires someone else to also do a false bid. But that's, like, dominant strategy, it shouldn't even matter what everyone else does. It should always be the best strategy.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not like a Nash equilibrium. It's like...
But then again, our dominant strategy in one outcome set,
it's different from a dominant strategy in a different outcome set.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we're allowed to distinguish between those two, the different outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, we don't have to bid a value of 5 on every outcome.
I see. Okay. Interesting. Can you have different outcomes based off of who?
I think I'm wrong, by the way. Even though I just said that. Sorry. Go ahead.
Like, maybe you could say, like, in the outcome where I win it was just so weird. I guess there's just so many different outcomes, right? I guess the outcomes, there's a different outcome depending on how everyone else bids. So if bidder B bids falsely, I could have a different dominant strategy. If bidder B bids 10, maybe my dominant strategy is to bid 10.
Right.
So maybe it's okay.
But then I thought it's like almost like you don't even care what the other people do. That's kind of what we were talking about.
Right. But maybe it's like a dominant strategy for the specific outcome where everyone else does these things.
Could be, right?
I don't know. I feel like I'm doing like mental gymnastics to try to make sense. I think our answer is right though.
Okay.
Right? Like I think this is an example. We've plugged in their formulas and we've answered this question, right? Like they can achieve positive utility if they both submit false bids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think what I just still don't get is like, why can you do this? like why are you allowed to do why is this an option in a VCG mechanism which is supposed to be DSIC?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, maybe we should ask the group next week. We'll try to look into it. Yeah, that's so weird to me. Just the fact that this exercise exists, it's saying that you can improve your utility by submitting a false bid.
Mm-hmm.
With the VCG mechanism. Huh.
Yeah, that doesn't really make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, I think I just also want to clarify, like, what welfare really means then.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess if you're submitting false bids, you're maximizing welfare with those false bids.
Right.
But if those bids aren't really the actual valuation, then you're not actually maximizing welfare.
Right, because whoever's getting cheated out of the
Right, like
item.
in this case, it doesn't feel like we're actually maximizing welfare because 10 is less than 11.
Mm-hmm.
But it is true that they do say, he does say at the start, like, we have to make the assumption that the first step is to assume without justification that agents truthfully reveal their private information.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So are we assuming that this isn't a false bid? So if it really were if the real valuations were 10 and 10, then this would be the welfare maximizing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Welfare maximizing allocation. But how can we can't assume this though? Because we just showed that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Does he ever justify this? It just says assume without justification.
I don't think we do justify it. I think it just follows from like he says it like up above, I guess. He says like.
So is there any real world use case for this then? I don't know. All right, so we have an example. All right, maybe we should just move on.
All right.
Maybe I can maybe we should send an email to him. Because he did respond to the first email I sent him. Could say, yeah, like exercise 32 seems like antithetical to like VCG being DSIC.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here, yeah, like he says, by definition, it maximizes welfare, assuming truthful bids.
Yeah.
So we should say, yeah, the fact that you can increase your utility with non-truthful bids is a VCG mechanism even like useful in any real sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess this works in theory if everyone's honest, but there's clearly exercise 32 shows there's incentives to not be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's weird because we're used to talking as if like the honest bids don't even matter. Because for example, the Vickery auction, like it doesn't matter if somebody submits a false bid because that person's going to be like penalized accordingly.
Right. You'll like lose the utility.
But here, I don't think that there's any check on that.
Right. Yeah. I'm not even really sure what DSIC means if we assume truthfulness.
Hmm.
Like if we're assuming that everyone's going to tell the truth no matter what, then are we saying, yeah, like it's almost like, of course that's DSIC if we assume that we assume everyone's truthful. I mean, I guess part of that is that they're never going to receive a negative utility.
Yeah. But like if they could achieve a higher utility by lying,
right? And they will lie. Yes.
I think so.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna watch that lecture again, but I might send him an email because this is kind of. It's also weird that like we didn't even continue on with VCG in the next lecture too. He kind of just lets it go. Okay. So can this ever happen in a Vickrey auction? No. Wait. Yeah. No. Oh wait. Can you increase your utility by submitting a false bid? No.
Well, if you're the top two bidders. Oh, okay. So let's rewrite the problem to say two bidders in a Vickrey auction are giving no goods by the mechanism if they bid truthfully, yet both can achieve positive utility if they both submit suitable false bids. And that's not true. That can't happen in the Vickrey auction.
Yeah.
Because by bidding more, aka using their false bid, if the false bid is more, then they will go to negative utility because they were already bidding at their value limit. And then if they bid less, then they just still don't get anything. So,
well, I guess. Oh yeah. There's no case.
yeah.
Also, there's no case where two people can achieve positive utility in a Vickrey auction.
Oh yeah.
There's only one winner, I guess. For many reasons, no. Yeah, like if someone else won the auction with a higher bid than you, if you increase past that, then you'll be paying more than your valuation. Yeah. Okay. Let's see, 33. Combinatorial auction, which a bidder can submit multiple bids under different names unbeknownst to the mechanism. The allocation and payment of a bidder is the union and sum of the allocations and payments. Okay, yeah. Respectively assigned to all of its pseudonyms. Show that the following is possible. A bidder in a combinatorial auction can earn higher utility from the VCG mechanism by submitting multiple bids than by bidding truthfully. I feel like this we could use the same one, right?
I think so.
So it's like V1 values A, B at 10. We split it up into what? V11 and V12. So if instead of bidding 10 for AB, I can bid 10 for A and 10 for B, and I can win by paying $2, where I would have lost the other way.
Sorry, my mind is. I'm checking your our example situation down here, and I'm still thinking under that pay. Isn't it 10 minus 20 minus 21? Because we're removing one of the bids, either false 1 or false 2. But then aren't we still including the other false bid in the summation there? Or no? I do this every time.
Yeah, no, because it picks it out of all the different possible outcomes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's not a possible outcome because that would say we give A and B to bidder 3 and we give B to bidder 2, which is not possible. We can't give B to 2 people. So it's not a possible outcome where bidder 3 and another bidder wins.
Okay.
So then this becomes, the maximum. So let's see, like remove bidder, whatever, 1-1.
Yep.
So we have, bidder 3 and bidder 1-2, right? Different outcomes are, no one gets A, bidder 1-2 gets B, you know, bidder 3 gets A and B, bidder 1-2 doesn't get anything. So like the utility for this one is 11.
Okay, right.
The utility for this one is 10. Or the welfare.
Right.
Is fake. And then all the other cases is 0. So what this means is like out of all the outcomes, let's maximize the sum of all the bids.
Okay. And so then
that's this case.
right. Right. We're only picking one outcome there. Oh yeah. I gotcha. All right, thanks. Sorry about that.
No, yeah.
Cool.
So I feel like this use case actually works for that too. I would have gotten the utility of 0 if I'd bid 10 by myself. But instead, I do 2 false bids of 10 for the individual things, and I end up getting a utility of 5 or of 10 minus 2, which is 8.
Hmm.
And this ever happened in a victory auction? No. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Only one person can win, so it doesn't matter if it's one of my sock puppets or if it's me.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So my conclusion is VCG is just terrible.
Yeah.
I'm confused. Why do we learn about this trash?
Yeah, I mean, and he calls it a cornerstone of mechanism design, so there must be something to it, some subtlety that is not apparent yet.
Yeah. That's kind of weird. If there's some way to ensure that you are going to, if there's some way to ensure that the bids are truthful, then it's
Right.
useful. So I wonder how they can actually do that in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking, like, if this was, say, like, if this was like a smart contract, for example, everyone would be submitting false bids. Like, there's no way to ensure that people are bidding their honest amount.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if there's some way to enforce legally that, like, you told the truth.
Yeah, or if there was some way to calculate, if there was some way to calculate it that didn't depend on their reveal. Like if their private information was already revealed.
Right.
Some other way.
That's true, yeah. Like, let's say you're using some existing account that has, like, all this information.
Yeah.
You're able to figure out what everyone's valuations are. Then I guess you could run this. That's true, yeah. Like, you could maybe for, like, I don't know, like, let's say a Spectrum auction, you could, like, figure out how many customers each of these telecom providers has in different areas, and say like we want to, their valuation is the number of people that will get that item, maybe something like that. We could say like you just take in data and just say that's their bid. You set that public information as their bid, and we maximize the total number of people who will get service. But I guess that could work.
And then the question is that like truly, is that like the full dimension combination or combinatorial auction, or like are we reducing? Because I'm just thinking of those outcome sets, like all the different outcome sets, and like I think it becomes a harder problem when you take into account that people can have different values for different outcomes.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how to possibly extract that information from people.
Yeah. Right.
In a way that is,
that's direct.
That it could be guaranteed. Yeah. Truthful. Yeah.
I guess that's like why we go into lecture 8 where he says like, yeah, you can't even do this.
Yeah.
Like we need to do an indirect auction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. It's also just pretty interesting to me that like all of these search companies still haven't updated to the state of the art. Like, he talks about how Google is not using like Meyerson's lemma, for example. Like they're not using the payment rule that's DSIC.
Oh yeah.
I think he said they're still doing like you pay what the person under you paid, right? Or something like that. They're not using the, yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was some kind of nuance there.
Which is just interesting. It almost makes me feel like the whole field is, I don't know. Like, I wonder if there's got to be a reason for that.
Yeah.
Like, Google wouldn't just do it out of laziness.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
but maybe it has something to do with revenue maximization.
Well, I think we showed that this would... Oh, wait. Maybe.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there without any justification, but I know that...
Yeah. I don't know. Something that they don't talk about that I think might be a good explanation is just that as an advertiser, it makes more sense. If I say, like, how much are you charging me, right? If I say, I'll charge you as much as the guy below you is paying, that's, like, pretty easy to explain. But, like, if I have to draw the squares in the area under the curve, then they're going to be like, okay, I don't get this.
Yeah, that's true.
I wonder if that's, like, a big factor.
Yeah, and that concession could mean a lot to your users and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's interesting.
I'm sure a lot of this theory does break down when we consider like the average participant in an auction. Mm-hmm. Like, we assume all these like rational behaviors and stuff, but then when it comes down to it, like somebody bidding on eBay for like an old school baseball cap or something, like, there's all kinds of irrationality going on there. So,
right. Definitely.
So I can see why they deviate from theory.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Why sometimes it's necessary to.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I think that interview with the guy who invented the spectrum auction was pretty interesting. Yeah,
I read most of that article. Thanks for sharing it. It was interesting.
Yeah, it's just like basically people are dumb. People aren't rational.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I guess we finished these exercises. I might just write this down real quick after.
Okay.
But I think was there any that we didn't do? So we did 31. I remember Austin had that. Or no, we just calculated it. Right. Decreases the revenue. I think we didn't do 30. Valuation of a bidder can be described by m private parameters, one per good. And its valuation of an arbitrary set S of goods is defined as max. Unit demand bidders. So this is saying that I always value the same good at the same amount?
Mm,
Let me just double check. Only choose one. Oh, I see. So I only want one good.
oh, okay.
So if I take any set of goods, I'll just pick the one item that's the highest of the set. That's my highest valuation. Prove that it can be implemented in polynomial time.
Do you only want one good here, or is it possible that you can have a few?
I think it's only, well, that's, I don't know, I just Googled unit demand. It says, like, think of a car. A typical example is a buyer who needs a new car. There's multiple different types of cars, but they'll choose only one of them based on the quality and price.
Hmm. Oh, okay. So I guess that's this part. Its valuation for an arbitrary set S of goods is defined as max Vij. So this max Vij term must be, pick the item in your set with the highest
Yeah, exactly.
valuation.
Okay. Like you can just do like dynamic programming or something.
Mm-hmm.
You just have all these different sets. Yeah, I feel like at a high level, this is just like a knapsack sort of problem or dynamic programming. Wait, so dynamic? I feel like isn't dynamic programming? Can it be polynomial time? But the knapsack problem isn't.
Right.
Actually, I don't know if dynamic programming is. Right. N squared or N cubed.
Yeah, so I think we would just need to walk through the steps of calculating this and make sure that make sure that nothing goes beyond like that. None of the operations go beyond like n squared sort of iterations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like you could just sort of do this approach where you like, pick a random bidder, give them the best thing, and then take that subset and just recursively run it on the subsets. Like we'll say, like we give this item to bidder 1, the best item to bidder 1, and then take that subset of everything except for that item and run that on all the other bidders. We just do this dynamic programming algorithm where, we save, if we have goods 1, 2, and 3, what does everyone pick?
Mm-hmm.
If we have goods 1, 2, and 3, and bidders 1, 2, and bidders 3, 4, and 5 or something, what's the best allocation? And we'll just like save all those things until we can piece together who gets which good.
Okay, and
That's
is that
probably,
allocation by VCG mechanism?
yeah, I mean the output would be like, maximizing the welfare.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual algorithm for allocating it, for calculating the allocation, would just be like a dynamic programming sort of thing.
And what would you have to do? Would you just loop through each bidding, each person's outcome set, and look for like, I don't know, their highest
Yeah, basically
like,
for every combination of a set of bidders
mm-hmm.
and a set of items for those bidders,
Yep.
we would have like what the best option is, and we'd build that up from the ground. So we'd be like, if there's one bidder and one item, obviously they just get that item. That's the best
Okay.
option.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there's one bidder and then 2 items, which item do they pick? 1 bidder, 3 items. So you do that for every bidder, every subset of items too.
Okay, so we're taking somebody's outcome sets, and we're looking at each outcome set, seeing which I guess taking this maybe I'd be happy just writing this out. I can't really do it off the top of my head, I guess. But like we can, I'll write a little program.
I think we could. Yeah. I should just go look in my dynamic programming section of my old algorithms textbook.
Nice.
But I think it just seems like, like it's basically for every subset of like, let's say for bidder 2, if the subset is like, item 1 and 2, then the best allocation is gets item 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do it for all the different combinations, like item, let's say 1 and 4 and 3 or something equals, gets item 4. And then we could do this for every bidder, and then we say, okay, now we have bidder 1 and 2. And items, whatever, 1, 5, and 4, and 3 or something. If we give bidder 1 5, then we've already stored this solution that, if bidder has options 1, 4, and 3, he gets item 4. So then we know to give bidder to item 4. I'm pretty sure it's just like the basics of dynamic programs. We can kind of just like build this up until we include all the bidders and all of the items and we have the best allocation.
Okay. That's cool. Is that what a dynamic programming approach is? You like
Yeah,
build from the smallest blocks and then just keep
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you basically just store all of those blocks. So we say like in this, you know, situation, in this like subset of like if we only have bidders 1 through 4 and we only have these items, like what's the best option?
Mm-hmm.
And then what we can do is we can do a recursive thing where like once we get to the point where we've solved the best solution for bidders 5 through 10, then all we have to do is just like take our saved solution from the subset of bidder 1 through 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I'll probably write. I guess maybe on Monday we can go over. I'll write out like what the actual algorithm is because I don't remember the exact specifics of like if we really have of where to save stuff and
Mm-hmm.
what the actual runtime complexity of this is.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. We kind of cleared through those.
Yeah. Feels good.
Yeah, it does feel good. Awesome. Great. Well, I guess Monday we'll just, I guess we can just practice explaining these to everyone else then.
Okay.
Yeah. How is radical exchange stuff going?
It's going pretty well, but nothing really to report. I have some content that I want to make, but I've been kind of lazy about it.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by content? Like lectures or blogs?
Kind of like something between a blog post and then like I guess it's kind of like an explainer article with some additional media, like some JavaScript visualizations and stuff.
Oh, cool. Like an explorable explanation sort of thing.
Yeah.
Have you seen those? The explorable explanations?
A little bit, but you could probably give me some better examples.
There's like a whole like community of people who build these like interactive articles. Like I don't know if you want to learn about how fireflies work or whatever.
Cool.
There's like these interactive things.
That's right on the money. Yeah, I'm going to take notes on what these are called.
Yeah. My friend and I built one at ETH Denver.
Nice. Explorable explorations?
Explanations. Yeah.
Explanations.
This was our like explorable explanation on like why decentralization matters. And it was like, it was an article, but there's also like, you can interactively like send money and like see how a payment thing works.
Nice.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, this looks great.
I actually saw something in the LA Radical Exchange group, which hasn't had a meetup yet, I don't think.
Okay.
But someone posted this.
Oh, cool.
Which was like, it's like an explorable explanation on like liberal radicalism or like quadratic finance.
Nice.
As it's called now, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it goes through like, yeah, I don't know. I haven't actually.
This is cool. Yeah, I want to do the same thing, but I want to explain what Glenn describes as the problem of increasing returns.
Okay.
Which he articulates really well in this lecture he gave at Rutgers. So I want to basically, just what you're showing me. with these explorable explanations. I want to make the same thing.
What's the like TLDR of like would you say increasing returns?
Yeah. The TLDR is that in community settings, all right, so you know the free rider problem, for example?
Yeah.
So yeah, the problem is like, you know, somebody puts in a lot of cost and effort to make something happen for a community, and they don't get their value back. And oh, geez. See, this is why I need to do an explorable explanation, because I think it's like the most important idea, but I always struggle when trying to explain it. But yeah, it's the same thing like global warming, how like, you know, we have an incentive to all work together and cut down our carbon emissions or whatever. Right. But for any individual participant, like their incentive is actually to
not do anything.
Yeah. And so it's this whole coordination problem.
Yeah.
In, I guess, economic terms or something.
Right. I feel like I've heard him. Does he say that the solution is quadratic finance, or is there a different solution that he's proposing?
Quadratic voting and quadratic finance might be a solution. And he kind of suggests that things that are underfunded in the public sphere are these problems of increasing returns versus like things with decreasing returns, like our traditionalist capitalist, you know, corporations and stuff. Like our returns from that should be used to fund these under-provisioned goods. So in other words, like for all the millions that McDonald's is making, like that should go straight to like working out this global warming problem or something. And then like we should do it via this CLR mechanism or something. So yeah, that's one example of a solution. But I think that there are probably other solutions too. So that's why I'm looking forward to like drawing it out and really articulating it well, because I'm hoping that it provides a good foundation to then like do some interesting solutioning.
Right. That's cool. Yeah, it's such a big problem. I don't know. I feel like Moloch DAO is kind of interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Potential coordination problem solution.
Yep. Yeah, I have to study that more, but when I looked into it, it looked really interesting.
Yeah. I think it only works at scale, though. It's basically like everyone pools their money together to fund public goods.
Okay.
But at least that way, like, I know that if I give 1% of my money, everyone else is giving 1% of their money too.
Yeah.
Everyone else who pooled their money, at least. So at least it's a little bit less of a free rider problem.
Okay. Can you still see kind of like attack vectors there, or like free rider incentives?
I mean, everyone's still losing money. Like everyone's still losing money in this case with Moloch DAO. Like you're giving up you're donating your money.
And the question is the utility that Moloch DAO generates like worth the investment, I guess?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it works better the more money is in it. Right, at a certain point, you'll be able to like fund an ETH 2.0 team with everyone just giving like 0.5% up of the money they put into the Moloch DAO.
Yeah.
But right now, there's so little money that like to fund anything meaningfully, everyone would need to give up like 10%. At which point, like it's a lot of money that everyone has to donate. So
yeah,
it increases with the more people and more money that gets put into it.
And because people who aren't participants of the Moloch DAO or involved in cryptocurrency, like they don't, I guess they don't have an incentive to contribute, or like they don't know that they have an incentive to contribute. They don't know that the value that they could get out of all contributing X would yield them, like, you know, let's say, oh, like the greatest decentralized network that we could ever possibly achieve that makes all of our lives better. So how do you coordinate around that?
Yeah, it's definitely hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's super interesting. It's like it's.
Totally.
I think something else that's kind of interesting too is like the idea of. I mean, I think it's like an unnecessary buzzword, but like bonded curve tokens. I think like having tokens that can represent just like social things, social value. Like let's say you have a token that just represents like I don't know, like a dance that someone created. And people can then trade that token as if it's like a trade. It's just a meme. It's just like Dogecoin or something. It's just like an idea. It's like, oh, do you own like so in like this dance, this coin that represents this dance? It's almost like people would invest more if the dance was getting really popular. And if the dance suddenly was dying out, then people would be selling the coin. It's just like loosely tied to the idea of the dance. But what if like a portion of the amount of money that gets traded just goes to the person who created the dance? Then like this person, like people who create these like viral dances don't end up capturing a lot of that social value that they've created.
True.
Like whoever created the dab, like I guess they got some credit, but yeah, it's like not really captured in a monetary sense. But this idea that you can have like memes or like dances or songs or like ideas that are just represented as like a token that people can trade, and you can and like the creator can receive like dividends from that. I think that's also an interesting idea of like sort of funding social goods. Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks so much for working through the problems with me.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for organizing it, getting me out of bed.
Yeah, no problem. I hope your neck feels better.
Yeah, it's feeling better. Like now that I'm up and, you know, I'm doing like standing desk sort of thing right now. So yeah, it should be good. Worst of it's over.
Right.
Thanks, man.
Cool. I'll see you on Monday.
All right, sounds good. See ya. Have a good weekend.
All right. See you. You too.
Later.
Bye.